your help?
Shipwrecked, a Nintendo 64 title developed by Cogware Games that launched in the later half of 1997, but was pulled from shelves after only 3 days due to a flood of complaints of dubious content. Information about the game was sparse. While a demo copy had been seen in public display once prior to its release, no media outlets had been given review copies, and like so many games from its era, slipped into obscurity pretty quickly, and was completely lost in the subsequent decades after. Until a cartridge appeared, where all things do.
eBay.
And from that cartridge, an emulator was made. On the surface, this harmless 3D platformer looks like it would fit right at home on your bedroom game shelf between Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64. I guess the name kind of gives that one away, huh? But this lost little 64 cartridge harbors so much more than what's simply on the surface. So, let's start things off by peeling back the layers of this thing, one by one. Our experience begins with the finished version of the game. That is to say, the version our developers touched up and made playable using the core 97 version at its base. We play as Bucky Beaver, and try to help rescue our friends and repair our boat to escape the island before the nearby volcano erupts. Each character has a task that you need to complete so that they can be freed. For Olive Otter, we need to collect coconuts. For Walter Walrus, we need to help him get his boat out of the dam. And with Giovanni Goose, we need to help him finish preparing a meal for the island's residents. Once they're all rescued and you've had your boat repaired by Chief Wolf, you can choose to just leave here. But in doing so, you will be leaving all of the island's locals to their grisly fate. But surely there's a better outcome than this, right? Well, if you choose to stay on, there are 2 other characters you can meet around the island. The first is Stumbler O'Hare, the rabbit amputee, who has been in the town hall but was inaccessible prior to you rescuing your friends. Stumbler also has a little mission for you to complete, helping him paint while keeping his ink stocked up and easel upright. If you complete this, he'll move to the theater to display his paintings there. Revisiting Stumbler here, he'll ask you if you could go and fetch the last of his paintings that he left back in the town hall. And it's here that we meet the final character in town, JD. JD is kind of an enigma. We don't even really know what kind of animal he's supposed to be. But just looking at him, he gives me big mole or rat vibes, given he has those big buck teeth, but is lacking the trademark tail to be a beaver like Bucky. JD tells us he knows about a hidden barge somewhere on the island. A boat big enough that it could shelter the entire island's inhabitants, which would mean we could save everybody. This is where we make our final big choice of the 2023 version of the game. We can either leave now, pursue the barge, or stick around to be a volcano statistic. Assuming you would want to see the best ending you can get, we'll have to play through JD's level. A rather deceptively tricky and lengthy platformer stage inside the volcano itself. And not gonna lie, I failed this like twice while I was still getting used to the game's controls. Each time landing me a game over and having to start again from scratch. Interestingly, just before you start JD's stage, he mentions in passing that the village would never let little old me do it when it comes to rescuing them all with the barge. And when you do get to the boat and bring it back to the shore, JD is notably absent. He says goodbye to us and remains at the cave beneath the volcano. And in the game's final cutscenes, he's nowhere to be seen. He chooses to stay. Now this marks the end of the 2023 version of Shipwrecked 64. But we've not even broken the surface tension of what's in store for us yet. So, it's time we boot the game up again, and select the new option available from the new game menu, the 1997 version. The version of the game that was abruptly pulled from store shelves. Upon launching the original version of the game, we're greeted with an incomplete version of the game's intro cutscene. The scene lingers on a little too long with a static green screen background, interspliced with some details about this version of the game. It looks like there were a lot more live-action cutscenes for Shipwrecked planned here that we can see, though these misshapen, creepy mascot suits were maybe a tad too unsettling for younger players. We get a short synopsis about how the cartridge was found, and that the developer had to create their own emulator with the help of 2 ex-devs from the original Cogware games to even bring this thing to PC. This game may have some glitches or artifacts. It is not for the faint of heart. This is exactly how we found the game, unaltered. At first glance, Shipwrecked 97 doesn't look all that different from what we've just been playing. We can follow the same beats as we did in the 2023 version, and finish the game in the same way. Though even the game thinks this is redundant, chastising us and telling us to get back in there. So, what do? Well, the first thing the game tells us about the 97 version is to think outside of the box, and that it's deeper than you know. Well, with that in mind, if we helped all of Bucky's friends in the original version of the game, why don't we not this time? When I first dove into 97, I decided to try this out with Olive Otter. You can just stand there and wait out the stage's timer to fail, or... Weirdly, the level had a mirror pop up after I collected one of the chests, but I couldn't interact with it in any kind of way, so, back to wailing. On failing the stage the first time, nothing really of note happened. So I decided to try again. This might not exactly have been what the game was trying to tell me by thinking outside the box, but I couldn't really think of anything else to try, so... Well, maybe I was wrong on this. I mean, it just fades to... Wait, what?
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
You showed up at the door again. I don't know what to do. There's something about us and just felt wrong. You showed up at the door again. I don't know what to do.
Okay, we're definitely getting somewhere. On talking to Olive after this cutscene, her dialogue has completely changed. Shards of glass were stuck everywhere. A thick trail stretched from the broken window, and it led directly into the water, followed by the NATO phonetic spelling of a name, Olivia. We enter the level again, but already we can tell something's off. The stage now has no trees, and every chest is empty. Even if we wanted to backpedal now, we can't. The stage can't be completed the traditional way anymore. And once again, we find ourselves in that unfamiliar house at the end of the level. But this time, there's no roof. Jumping up and out, we can see Olive's body, floating lifelessly in a nearby body of water, with Bucky staring down at her. The event seemingly mirroring what we heard in that voice recording, and what Olive was saying before we entered the stage. Our doppelganger walking away as the screen fades to black. Once the scene is over, Olive Otter is nowhere to be seen. She's not outside the house, she's not back on the beach. But when we go and do other characters' levels, sometimes she's there with us. So we continue through our new goal of messing with these other characters. Failing Walter Walrus, then Giovanni Goose. Now we're sure after that. Jesus Christ! Each character's fail state shows us another grisly murder, all of which are at the hands of this gross, misshapen real-life Bucky. Throughout the game files, we do learn that there were some physical theme parks that featured the cast as mascot costumes. So these clips look to be linked with 3 murders that happened behind the scenes of this game. Olivia Finch, Nathan Stewart, and Gary Wilson. Every time one of these 3 characters disappears or dies, another locked door in the overworld becomes unlocked, which leads to 3 hidden areas, transition areas to the next layer of the game. And these are the pool, the diner, and the dam, respectively. There are a couple of other areas that connect these zones though, like those tunnels below Disneyland, and a few other esoteric places like the gallery in the hills. This whole place is brimming with puzzles and an uneasy, liminal feel to them. But for now, we're still safe. Upon arriving here the first time, Bucky himself addresses us, the player, directly, explaining how he feels uneasy and that we should just respawn and be on our merry way. He doesn't want to be down here. And if we knew any better, we would heed his warning. But we don't. I'm intentionally avoiding giving away puzzle solutions where I can in this video because honestly, this game is an amazing experience, and everything gets so much more insane once we hit layer 3. But a big part of the fun is solving these puzzles yourself. If you just follow a guide or have the solution sitting on like a second monitor or something, you're seriously going to be missing out on a big part of the experience. Finding all of these little clues, deciphering the cryptic videos and images, from browsing through achievements to reading sheet music, something I haven't had to do since I was like 10. In fact, there's even an in-game way to seek help with some of the game's puzzles from Stumbler, because in one of the documents, he gives you an email address, a real email address that you can reach out to. So, please, don't just play this game glued to a guide. I know you're smart enough to crack these. Now, that being said, this video will contain spoilers. In fact, this right here is where I would recommend anyone who wants to play this game abandon ship, because once we descend any further, we wave goodbye to any illusions of safety. Because in layer 3, they dwell down here. From the minute we begin to descend, we can tell this place is different. the walls having been graffitied by our harmless buddy, telling us to stop now. But we're too deep into this all to just leave. We enter a new room and find a candle. Layer 3 is incredibly dark, so we're going to need this to navigate, as well as a tape recorder, which seems to dictate what happened to Olive.
It hit her before she even knew it was coming. It started with loud screaming, reduced over time to mere croaks. Any will to swim away slowly drained away as she sunk down further into the water, polluting its natural color. The rodent stood a few feet away, watching the effects of his actions, and only began to walk away when she stopped struggling.
We follow the bloody trail to the door and enter the cabin. Its walls lined with messy red scrawlings denouncing the original developers, talking about lying and looking me in the eye. Entering the next room, we find another computer, and when we interact with it, we're taken to a self-published website, written by Stumbler and apparently Chief Wolf, entitled A Helping Nub. Despite the dangers, I'd recommend reading through everything on the website now, and even keeping it open for later in case you get stuck in the upcoming events. If you want to survive and see this thing through to the end, you're going to need all the information you can get. From here, we have 3 routes to take. Each is unlocked after failing the 3 side characters minigames above the surface, though you only need to complete 2 of these to be able to progress. Personally, I completed the ducks and office puzzles myself, for no other reason than they were the first 2 I found. The ducks puzzle has you hunting for 3 switches to complete the area. The first you'll walk past on your way in easily enough. The next one, however, took me longer than I'd like to admit. You'll find this computer here, with a screenshot from Olive's minigame, a red palm tree. But watching the monitor for a while, you'll see a quick flicker that reads, Shift Tab. For Steam users, you'll know this key command pretty well. It summons up the Steam overlay, useful for talking to your friends while in-game, checking games, community tabs, and viewing your recent achievements. I know I said I wouldn't show solutions for stuff, but this was a pretty clever way to hide a code in plain sight. You snag that 4-digit code and put it into the terminal, which will let you get the second button in the area, only leaving that creepy dark tunnel we saw on our way in. Here we get another music-themed puzzle, and this one kinda hit me right in the childhood. For context, when I was a wee little skunkling, my parents made me attend a music school for a while. It's a place called Chimes. I learned to play piano there for a couple of years. The only song that I can still play to any capacity to this day is a song I had to commit to memory for an assessment there. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Ode to Joy. Like, hearing it again had me immediately connect with this game. While reading sheet music wasn't something I could really remember all too well, I remember when I still had normal hands. I even remember the second-hand keys for this song. What a cathartic little puzzle. Completing this puzzle unlocks the gate further down the tunnel. Flicking the switch and then interacting with the computer also hidden in this area. Completing the first of these 2 tasks will teleport us back to the entrance of the Cogware Games Gate. 1 part down, 1 to go. The next step was completing the office puzzle. The same kind of puzzles we just solved are going to be at play here. For the most part. We still need to hit 3 buttons, But this time we're actually going to need to decipher the text that shows up on one of these monitors. It's written in Beaver Scratch, an in-game language that initially just looks like garbled nonsense. But thanks to Stumbler's webpage that we kept open, you did keep that open, right? We can decipher it, which will give us access to the second button back in the previous room. And the other one is down the ramp in this same room. If you're wondering what's making that unsettling radio static, well, go ahead and push yourself up against the grate by the TV and take a look for yourself. Just be discreet. We really don't want it noticing us. With those 3 buttons pressed, the floor pit is open, allowing us to drop down and hit the last button, opening the way forward into the Plaza. This is probably the most stress-inducing, creepy portion of the entire game. Everything we've experienced up until this point has been a little unsettling or creepy, but here, the facade drops entirely. Nowhere in the Plaza are you safe. The entities in this game have been watching us silently up until this point. But if we want to go any further, we're going to have to look these horrors directly in the face. This entire area acts sort of like a giant maze. The first thing we'll want to do is explore everything thoroughly. There are a few things we'll need to discover in order to open up this place completely. But once we have comes the more stressful part. And that is activating all of the golden computer terminals in this area in under 11 minutes. Stumbler's webpage warned us about this part. And I'm not ashamed to admit that it took me about 4 to 5 tries before I finally managed to get all of these things activated within the 11 minutes. I was so stumped on this one that I looked up some advice while trying to finish it. And, well, honestly, none of the advice was all that helpful to me personally. Memorizing the map we find is not helpful. The way I kinda ended up managing to tackle it was complete all of the basement portion of the Plaza's terminals, then complete all of the terminals in the dining and office areas. Once these 3 are done, it's just a matter of working your way around the outskirts of the main area and then the upper parts. Honestly, hitting 20 buttons in 11 minutes might not sound like it's a challenge. But that's where these things come into it. The ghost in the machine, so to speak. The game calls these things Starlings. But up till now, we've not received much information on what the hell a Starling even is. A helping nub refers to them as dwellers, creatures that don the faces of Bucky's own friends and wander within the deeper layers of the game. These creatures have ties to the murder victims we saw in the Layer 1 minigames. But if we want to learn more, we're going to have to go deeper. For now though, all you need to know is they are a very real threat that skulks in the dark down here. As you progress through Shipwrecked, and the greater ARG as a whole, you'll get a lot more information about them. You have no way to fight them, but you can hide from them. Those green barrels you see in every room are hiding places. If one of these things spots you, it'll initiate a jump scare, and they'll make a beeline for you. If that happens, you want to try and run and break line of sight from them and hide inside of a barrel. That should keep you relatively safe. Each of the Starlings acts a little differently from the others. Olive is the fastest of the three, and aside from encountering her in the game, sometimes she'll sneak up on you like this. If you're inside a barrel, when she looks for you here, she'll just skulk back into the darkness. But if you're out in the open, she'll manifest right there and try to catch you. Giovanni is the second fastest, and unlike the other two, he can fly down from higher up areas to give chase if he spots you. He also has incredible hearing, so if you're listening to any of the audio recordings in this area or are making too much noise, you may hear him approach or manifest nearby. Then lastly, we have Walter. The slowest of the three, but don't think that makes him any less deadly. Walter can destroy barrels you're hiding in, which will leave you flailing to get away from him, while the other two will linger around barrels they suspect you might be inside. Walter will actually destroy these hiding spots to try and flush you out. Luckily, he's the easiest of the three to outrun, so just really make sure he doesn't catch you trying to hide. From the plaza on, the Starlings are going to pop up in all sorts of places to try and kill or capture you. If you do manage to get cornered, after the game glitches out, you'll find yourself inside the jail cell of that area. Luckily, our buddy Stumbler knew the code for the keypad in here, so we can punch this out to escape, meaning the only real cost being cornered has is on the timer. And your poor heart. Once you've learned the lay of the land and activated all 20 of the golden computers in time, you'll have a second mission to complete, which involves finding these 3 green batteries scattered around the plaza and dropping them into the computer terminal in the basement. The Starlings are still out in force, but there's no time limit here, so you can be a lot less frantic and take your time with this one. The one thing to note is that when Bucky is carrying an object, he can't run or even drop down ledges, so just be slow and methodical. But honestly, if you manage the first segment here, this second one is going to be relaxing by comparison. Once you drop the third battery down into the computer terminal, the screen will flash green, and a download will begin, and you'll be teleported to a temporary safe room. Those files we saw downloaded are back down in the basement computer. Grab these before you head out of the exit of the plaza. On my first playthrough, I just bolted for the exit because I was so happy to be done with this area that I missed some crucial information about the Starlings, which is detailed in these files. Then, once you're ready, we can wave goodbye to the miserable darkness of the plaza and enter somewhere very different. The exit door has dumped us into the game's early tech demo, likely still buried within the game files from when the developers were trying to pitch the game. We can see the game physics, AI programming. A lot of games still have stages like these buried in their code, just dummied out so players don't stumble across them. You ever see that crazy dev room in Sonic Adventure 2? It's kind of like that. Seeing as there are no signs of the Starlings, we can take our time here. Cherish these little moments of respite, because they don't last long. Eventually, once you've finished exploring, you'll reach an elevator, which allows you to go lower as we breach layer 4. The first floor on our descent down will be some calming blue and white office cubicles. The music is vaguely familiar and non-threatening, and much like the tech demo we were exploring above, everything here feels safe. But be aware, it's not. Here we can come across a new threat. One that can initially disguise itself as an out-of-place barrel or object. If you recall, Stumbler's website did warn us about this, and if you hit it, you'll stop it from manifesting. But if you're not going to reach it in time, run. You'll notice that the music on the floor will distort and stop when this thing is trying to break into our reality. So you'll get plenty of warning. But for now, there isn't much we can do here in the office level. So we're better just jumping back into the elevator we arrived in and descending one floor down. The next floor here is much more in line with what we experienced in the plaza. Dark, creepy hallways and more puzzles. To be able to progress in the office area above us, we'll need to solve the puzzles within the sewers here. And this was the area I got kinda stuck on for quite a while, if I'm being honest. While the plaza was a tense hide-and-seek sprint fest, the sewers is a lot more plotting, puzzle solving, and blindly grabbing around in the dark for hidden buttons. Though I will admit one particular aspect of this place, the codebreaker element, is very cool and well thought out. But I won't spoil it too much. Though it's here I'll mention that I will be uploading my full playthrough of the game to accompany this video. So if you love games like this but don't actually want to play through it, I've got you covered. Still, we persist. We continue through unraveling the secrets in this place, but with one new starling leaping out of the darkness. A starling of Bucky. Large and imposing like Walter, but much, much faster. Capable of destroying hiding spots and will barrage you with pop-ups when given chase. Mercifully though, he doesn't attack you from the side of the games like Olive. But adding him to the mix here makes progress in these tight corridors a stressful thing to endure. But after a series of puzzles, one having us open a unique game in itself, Codebreaker, we finally managed to begin to decipher the upstairs puzzles in the office. Returning to the office, we decipher the last of the puzzles so we can unlock the keypad on the left side of the floor, while constantly trying to avoid the only starling that skulks this floor. Blot. Blot is relentless. Even if you can stop him the first time, he'll continue to try and glitch into the area until you can solve the puzzle and escape. Blot can also try and catch you from the screen borders like Olive, so anytime you hear the audio getting a little weird, your best bet is hiding. Once we finally clear the blue and white walls of the office, we reach the long, dark tunnel. Bucky tells us he knows this place and that it's apparently safe, despite looking like a location straight out of Silent Hill. Pressing onwards into the darkness, we find an organic beating heart hanging above the path ahead of us. But Bucky has nothing to say here, and since we can't reach or interact with it, and seeing as the door back now won't open anymore, we can only keep going forward, leading to a rather unassuming room, and then a message. Congratulations on reaching the end of our demo. We're happy to see you are engaging with our work. But we're showing you this for one reason. As a reward for seeing all of Cogware's capabilities. Everyone, I'd like to introduce you all to an exciting game set to release in 1997. I now present and we're back in the game's intro. Only we're on the outside. Before everything suddenly cuts to a strange found footage of a camera staring up at trees while text crawls. Our final task within the game is to find this thing. It's hiding all throughout the island's surface layer, and we need to interact with it 10 times before we can see the game's final, true ending. But like it warned us, it's not going to be easy. Every starling we've encountered thus far is out on patrol, 5 of them trying to intercept us. If we can interact with the husk 10 times, the game's over. This part can be a little tricky, as husks can spawn everywhere. The theater, town hall, residence district, the park, and the beach itself. Patience is key. If you've made it this far, you can manage this. And with the final effigy of husk found, we can view the game's ending.
Ask, and you shall receive. Let's take a look at the little mess you've made.
And so we see the end of Shipwrecked. Or more, the end of its development. Hearing the head developer, Connor, from Cogware have it out with the IP owners, telling them that they're being let go.
Who are they gonna believe, you?
You are nothing. I will be taking my leave now. Good luck in your future endeavors. I expect the office to be cleared by next week. Do not contact me again.
We then control Bucky for his final moments of the game, walking down a dark hallway leading to a balcony of what appears to be an apartment complex. Just do it. Jumping off and falling into the abyss below. Before we get a little more exposition, explaining that these were the final moments of Connor Thomas's life before he committed suicide. While wrestling with the crushing depression of losing his job, he completed the game and released it discreetly before taking his own life. The game serving essentially as a way for him to shed some light on Broadside's heinous little secrets, spiting them the only way he could. Now, this ending leaves us with a lot of questions about the Starlings, Broadside Animation, the murders. The pieces are here, but there's a lot of outside of the game to explore as well. If you like ARGs, I really recommend you check it out. Hell, even if you're just a fan of horror media or horror games, Shipwrecked 64 is a fantastic experience. While I found some of the puzzles a little bit fiddly to figure out, it was always extremely satisfying to figure out and progress further. And even on my second playthrough of the game, I am still finding little secrets hidden within the game that I didn't before. The Starlings' unique ways of attacking you, specifically Olive and Blot, had me so spooked and tense the first time I encountered them. Something that I honestly can't say for, well, about any horror game I've played in the past decade. Showing that when it comes to horror, indie is the way to go. And seriously, a huge kudos to the game's creator, Squeaks D'corgeh. I absolutely adore these kind of creepy little indie horror experiences. This game was like Petscop, but we could actually play through it ourselves. I'd love to one day make my own horror ARG. But for now, I think this is a good place to wrap things up. So, thanks for watching and sticking with me through all the twists and turns Shipwreck had to offer. And until next time, take care of yourselves.